if someone was to say to me, what could I let go of to help me in my transition to waking up, I would say, okay, how about letting go of every single belief system you've got? What you think is right, what you think is wrong. Well, we've had a bit of a belief system shattering attempt recently, because we've had a little film about, well, maybe Hitler was here to help us rather than give us a hard time. Maybe he gave us a hard time and he helped us. But can you see that was a really big attempt to get a 16-ton weight and shatter a belief system? So the more you can break down your old belief systems, and if you can actually say, okay, there's no sacred cow, I'm prepared to let go of any belief system, I have a feeling this is a thing that's going to help us more than anything else to go through our awakening process. And maybe being open to everything is going to give us a really good head start. That's another way to look at it. And you know, remember, these are all just different ways of seeing things. The Rastafarians call this planet Jerusalem's schoolroom, and I often thought that was an interesting way to describe it. And it's saying, okay, you're here to learn, that's what it's all about. We are here to learn. And yes, by having the paradox of good and evil, light and dark, good and bad, all those things, it doesn't half enable us to learn all sorts of things. It enables us to learn what we consider to be important in life, what matters and what doesn't. The point is, no matter how evil a demon is, no matter how wonderful an angel is, there's something that they don't have that we've got, which actually it makes us immeasurably more powerful in our own way, and that's the physical body. And it's interesting how some religions have done everything they can to discredit the body, to say, oh, it's only a flawed vehicle, it's full of sin, all these appalling statements. Actually, the fact that we have a physical body means that we can do things that these amazing beings can't do when it comes down to it. So we can touch, we can feel, we can taste, we can smell, we can see, we can hear. These are great, great gifts. And if you ever want to stop and think about what you can have gratitude for, well, just think, I've got the gratitude for my senses. When it comes to sex, that's an interesting subject, because having sex as a fully physical human being is a completely unique experience. It is possible for people to have what one can call a kind of a sexual experience in the astral realms. That is certainly possible, and it has its own beauty. However, there's something very particular about full physical life, and that certainly includes sex.
Is sex beneficial, or is it just that it's the intention that that you're putting out while you're doing it?
Absolutely brilliant, couldn't say it better myself. Absolutely right, the intention, because one can see how sex can become depraved in terms of pornography and abuse, and one can see how sex can become sanctified in terms of two people co-creating possibly a physical child, or maybe not even a physical child, just co-creating magic between the two of them, which results in them being able to radiate their love out to all human beings. So in a sense, sex represents, it's rather like a tool. I can use a hammer to build a house, or I can kill someone with it. It's the same hammer. It's the same with sex. So yes, that's such a perfect example you just gave there.
You know, if it's karmically appropriate to conceive, you know, through sex, bang, that's it. Is it like the astrological view where kind of conception happens on a cosmological basis, you know, things align? Or is it the fact that these souls wait for an appropriate time, wait for an appropriate host, and then come through? What is the...
Yes, I get you. That's a very big subject. So if we look at the idea of a soul wanting to incarnate in the physical body, the first thing we need to realise is that full physicality, full physical existence only actually occurs on one planet, and that's the one that we live on, is called Earth. Semi-physical existence occurs on many, many, many planets, probably millions, probably more than millions. And then there's non-physicality. There's three states of existence: non-physical, semi-physical and fully physical. Non-physicals include things like the angels. Semi-physicals include what people call the extraterrestrials, the ones that travel in these UFOs and all the rest of it, and come and visit us and do whatever they do, inhabit other planets. And some of these are certainly guides and helpers to healers. And then there's the fully physicals. Now, if you think about the fact that there's a limited opportunity to be fully physical, it means that every single one of us is a lottery winner. which means that there are many, many souls that would love to have the experience of being a fully physical human being, including all the pleasure and the pain that includes. So if that's the case, this is why we talk about there being the equivalent of 100 years of planning for a 70-year lifespan. All these connections have got to be made with all these people beforehand about, I want to meet you and have a wonderful experience with you, and I want to meet you and for you to give me a hard time, and oh, you want me to meet you so I can give you a hard time. Okay, we'll make all these arrangements, and then we come down. So that bit's all looked at, and then it's a matter of, okay, who's my parents going to be? Well, that must be incredibly important, because if my parents are going to have me as a baby, everyone knows the first 7 years of life are the most formative, then aren't these going to be really significant individuals? Now, supposing I actually want to have two parents, no, supposing I don't, supposing I want to start off with two parents, but after 6 months my dad walks out and I'm just left with one parent. There's a great level of detail that gets worked out in advance. Can you imagine the complexity? So the person works all this out, and then these two people are having sex, they're in the act of having sex, and the soul that's been waiting for this to happen, that's all lined up, the moment of sex is happening, and then there's this moment of conception. And the way that I see this is, it works in the way of vortexes, because everything in the universe works as vortexes. The straight line from A to B is a bit of a linear concept, which is mostly for human beings and motor cars and the like, but generally speaking, in the bigger picture, it's all vortexes. So this soul is vortexing in from out there to the planet, to that particular house, that particular room, that particular couple, and the moment of conception, that soul is suddenly locked in there, and then that is going to be creating a child. What an amazing thing when you think about that. So it's so much to do with free will. And here's a strange thing, sometimes that happens and a few months later there's a miscarriage, or maybe even an abortion. So it depends so much on terms of karma as to what's going on. There could be a situation where somebody lived a life and they're supposed to live 80 years, they live for 79 years and 8 months and 3 days, and they've got just a few more months of existence to experience, and so they come back and they just get those few months and then they go. It's an incredibly detailed question what we're talking about here. So the way I understand it is that it's all to do with free choice. Every one of us that makes it is so lucky, because there's so many more that would like to be able to make it, don't get the opportunity, because there's a limited number of people having sex at any one time, which is enabling that limited number to be born. So any human being that ever chooses to be a parent needs to give themselves a massive pat on the back, because they chose to take on one of the most arduous tasks there is on this planet, which is to actually give life to another human being, and to take whatever part they choose to take in that human being's development. And that is just such a gift. It's beyond priceless. You know, you think about people earning millions of pounds and doing great things to charity or whatever, but no, when it comes down to it, allowing another life form to take on full corporeal existence, that's really the number one.
Yeah, well, you mentioned heaven. It'd be the next step is for me to ask, what happens after death?
In a sense, I'm breaking ranks, because this is a dreadful secret, and there's a very good reason why this information is generally kept secret, and it's to do with we don't want people popping off, killing themselves left, right and centre, because that's not right. You see, the bottom line reality is that when people die, and when they get out of whatever illusions they might have imposed upon themselves through their living, once you have passed through that, and you then merge with the universal consciousness, to use your words, what happens? It's the most fantastic experience imaginable. It is so much more amazing and wonderful than we could in our wildest imaginings conceive of. As I've mentioned before, there are many, many life forms in the in-between worlds who are waiting to help them through, but they need a bit of help to start with. So if it's something like morphine, someone has to blow the fog away, a shaman's job. If it's, say, the bubble, someone needs to help them break the bubble. But once the bubble's broken and once the fog's lifted, then certainly there's all the help there they could possibly need, and they find themselves carried into what would to us appear to be unspeakably beautiful paradise.